Back with another episode of Chef's Kiss. I have a special guest here today, former Major League closer, John Rocker. What's up, John?
Not much, man. How you doing today?
Dude, I am doing well. I know you
Wearing
saw
that
that
Phillies
video.
hat proudly, I see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
Sporting
I'm
that.
I'm born and raised in Chicago. So I'm born and raised a Cubs fan, but I moved out here to Philly about 4 or 5 years ago. So
Okay. How
I've
do you like it?
assimilated to the culture.
Yeah. So you become a
I mean,
huge asshole then.
I'm in.
So you become a huge
No,
asshole. That's how you
no, I'm
assimilate the
still
culture of Philly.
still good Midwestern boy.
Well,
But
you don't
yeah,
fit in
like I
Philly then.
assimilated to the culture.
You don't.
I love baseball. So this is the team out here, and this is kind
Yeah,
of
they
who
put some
fo-
some good teams on the
following.
field the
You
last
know,
4 or 5 years.
yeah, until it gets to October, right?
No, that's a. I played for a team back in the day that had some issues in October as well, so I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah. You also shut up the Mets too. I was looking at your stats against the Mets. Mighty impressive. So we can both hate on the
I
Mets
saw
together.
that. I was curious maybe just a few months ago, and because I did an interview with somebody like your ERA against the Mets was like a 2.8 something. I'm like, oh shit, it wasn't. Look, I don't know where you got this from, but I can honestly only recall it was solo jack to Edgar Alfonso, solo jack to Robin Ventura, and honestly, I cannot remember any other runs I gave up against the Mets. I can remember two
No, it was a
solo home
one
runs.
point something. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
wouldn't
was
say I
incredibly
would try to
low.
be a little less than that because I probably threw 30 innings against them at least,
Yeah, I think
if
it was
not
eight or
more.
nine saves, something like that.
Okay, maybe I
Um,
just looked at wrong stat or something. I don't know.
no, I think it was the other guy who had it wrong for sure.
Yeah, I don't know where you found that, but
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for joining me today. I made a
you're welcome.
video about all your recent findings with the Somali daycares. I got over 1.5 million views on Instagram. Your Instagram is blowing up. People are following you. I think they're becoming more aware of what you have done or what you're doing. And I saw a funny quote that I want to get your thoughts on this in your comments. It says somebody said, sometimes the villain lives long enough to become the hero.
I like
Is that
that.
how you would
I
you
like
like that?
that.
I say print
Yeah.
the shirt. Print the shirts, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you only say like double XL, so that's a lot of words there. But yeah,
Yeah,
I like something like a Batman movie or something would be
yeah.
a line from
I
there.
thought it was
Actually,
smart and
it might be
creative.
from a Batman movie to be honest.
Well, that one is sometimes you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. But I think you were portrayed as a villain up front, and now people are seeing what you are doing, and they are regarding you more so as a hero.
Maybe so. I don't ever read my own media, like all my Instagram posts, all my X posts. I used to actually one of my favorite pastimes. This is going back 10, 12 years ago. When I had a Twitter account that back in the day. I ended up deleting that account because one of my favorite pastimes was to sit outside on my deck with a cocktail and a cigar, and people that would troll me on X, I would get in little verbal fisticuffs with them, and I would just sit there and laugh at my own jokes as I'm just like roasting these people and saying some pretty offensive stuff. And then I ended up taking that down when I got asked to be on Survivor because I'm like, they're going to look at this account, and I don't really want them seeing the CBS folks seeing some of the shit I say to these folks on X or Twitter back then. So, yeah, but since then, I don't look at my own media. I don't read my own media. I don't read any comments from the haters or even the likers. I post my stuff and okay, move on to the next thing.
And yeah, carry on with your day. Well, you get a lot from both sides. Very polarizing figure. So more recently, we're going to talk about the Somali daycare stuff, right? Obviously, you went to Columbus, you went to Minnesota. I'm just going to read something here so nobody can
Just
dispute it. This
Columbus.
is
No,
from this.
no Minnesota. Just Columbus.
Sorry.
Same
This is
thing though.
from
Six and
yeah.
one.
Correct. This is from the Center of Immigration Studies. So this isn't from you. This isn't from any outside source. Center of Immigration Studies. Based on a recent report, 81% of Somalian immigrant households in Minnesota consume some form of welfare, including food stamps, over 50%, and Medicaid, nearly 75%. Nationally, data shows approximately 43% of Somalians reported receiving SNAP benefits to food, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So the goal here for you and your partner, I want to learn a little bit about who he is. It's to expose fraud. How did this plan come together? Who came up with this idea? How was it executed? What did that look like? What did this plan look like?
Jack Windsor, investigative journalist in Columbus. He contacted me, and we've been kind of friends on social media. Been on his show. I'm doing his show again here in about 30 minutes. Been on his show a couple of times. I guess he's a good journalist. He's a good radio show host. But obviously, Columbus, Ohio is a small market. He wanted someone that had a level of fame, if you will, to help expose what's going on in his town. He's like, we are the second largest Somali community behind Minneapolis, Minnesota. I promise you the same stuff's going on here. He starts doing some research, finds out that, yeah, more than likely. So let's go out and um, basically take a page out of Nick Shirley's book and duplicate what he did. Was exactly what we did. Now, we were talking off air. I'm like, how's Nick? He's on Fox and he's on the Waters show and all that. I've been on Hannity's show. I've been on Bill O'Reilly's show. I was on Geraldo's show. I'm like, why don't you invite me back? I did the same shit. I was Nick Shirley's a damn famous for this stuff. But what about my documentary? And I get it. Nick Shirley does it from a completely cut and dry facts. While yes, it's good hearing the facts, I also want to be entertaining. It was kind of good cop, bad cop. Jack Windsor, good investigative journalist, good radio talk show host, but he's kind of the, bad cop, if you will, being just sort of the straight laced, 55 miles an hour on cruise control, just getting the facts. I wanted to be the color guy, and just make it kind of entertaining for people watching this stuff with the stupid one-liners and some of the smart-ass comments and shit like that. So yeah, that's not going to make a Fox commentary, 8 p.m. weekday talk show. But my listeners on X and Instagram, they found it hilarious, which that was my goal.
Yes, it was. I edited up the video to kind of give some of the highlights of what you were saying. Braun, I thought that was one of your best lines. I don't know how you thought of that from the top of your head, but I don't care.
After the fact, I was like, missed a golden opportunity because obviously they're all Muslims. They hate Jews. I should have come up with this is my baby Shlomo. Should have come up with like the most Jewish name I could think of. Yeah, can little Shlomo come into your Muslim daycare there? Yeah, can we do that? We're just some cold, hungry Jews out here. Can we bring our baby in there? Missed it. But, sometimes after the jokes after the fact are funnier than ones you come up with on the fly.
Absolutely. John, what were some of the most startling findings that you saw? Because I saw that there was a registered address to an entity that would audit Somali daycares and it was welded shut. What's some of the things that were just like super surprising that you saw that were kind of just blatantly
honestly,
obvious?
After watching Nick Shirley's video, nothing was surprising. It was like, yeah, exactly what I expected. One thing that is surprising, yes, it was a rainy day that was about 45 degrees. The weather itself was depressing enough. But it's been, at least in America, I've traveled, all over this hemisphere and have been in some very depressing places in Caracas, Venezuela, and Mexico, and Dominican, and things like that. But that whole neighborhood there where they live, what a depressing fucking place to be. And yeah, some of it was cold and rainy, but they're absolutely embezzling this money, which is what it is. Let's call it what it is. When you want to call it fraud, it's fucking embezzlement. The government's giving you hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars per business, and you're taking the money and doing something else with it. That is embezzlement. And yeah, we knocked on a lot of doors, and every single one of them were not open. There were people there, but there were no children there. It was say on the sign, open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Uh, Monday through Saturday. It's Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Like where are you? And so yeah, I expected exactly that. But the one thing I did find shocking is just what a broke ass place that place is. And so what are you people doing with all this money? I mean, if you've got within a 1 square mile radius, you've got 11 of these damn daycare centers. Which you live in Philly, I live here in Florida. I would say within 2 square miles of my house, there may be two daycares, maybe. Yeah. So when you've got 11, you ride down one road, you ride a mile and a half, and you pass 8 of them within a mile and a half. Clearly, word has gotten out. Here's how the scam works. All you got to do is fill this paperwork out, and you'll get approved because you're a minority. And it's just the bankroll starts. What are you doing with the money? Because you're not buying a nice house. I know that, and you're not investing in your community. You're not buying nice cars. I've been to very few places in America that it just is just like, this is just a dirty, disgusting place.
And what are
And that
some
was a
of the
little surprising.
excuses that you're hearing? Because obviously you were met with hostility or defensiveness. Are they giving you any explanation to this? Because objectively, obviously, if there's a bunch of grown men coming up to a daycare, they would be kind of cautious. But like you said, there was no children there. There didn't seem to be a business going on. So were they giving you kind of any explanations, or was it more just shunning you away from the doors and keeping you away?
No, there was no explanation. First of all, probably half of them couldn't speak a lick of English. At least they didn't let on they could. Kind of hard to argue with someone in Swahili. Um, And the ones that could, it was threats of calling the police. It was, you don't belong here. It's, we're gonna sue you. Like, not sure how a lawsuit's gonna fly, but okay, you can say that. Yeah, it was just all, here's how we're gonna retaliate against you just for trying to see if our business is legit. Now, I will say there were two that were legit, and they were both owned by Americans. We knocked on one door. It said, just the same kind of storefront, same kind of name for the business. Just a typical, yes, this is a daycare, denotes by the name on the front door. And a younger, probably 35-year-old black lady answers, could not have been friendlier. We talked to her for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm sure if you watch the whole documentary, she let us in. There was probably 15 to 20 kids in there. They were sitting down having lunch. It was a nice facility. They were in their little high chairs, and there was their little toys were all over the place, and there was about probably 4 or 5 other ladies in there. They were obviously part of the staff. Then oddly up in the same shopping center, about 4 doors down, there was another one, and probably a 40-year-old black man answered, who was an American guy, and we could hear the kids, and we didn't go in there because he's like, it's a little weird. We did speak to him, quite cordially for, I don't know, a good 5-10 minutes. He kind of laid everything out, and again we could hear children inside playing. We could smell lunch being cooked. It was about probably 11:30, 12 o'clock. Legit, and it was those two, both clearly American people, lived here, born and raised, probably in Columbus, Ohio. They had legit businesses. Every single one of the other ones that folks would answer their burkas, or what the hell that costume those freaking people wear. Um, with just the little, just a little stormtrooper hat on. Not a one of them. Not a one of them. I mean, you didn't smell lunch cooking. You didn't hear voices inside. It'd be usually two women that would, if they did open the door, were very angry. And most times they would not open the door. Would just scream at you from behind a closed lock. And
Yes, yeah,
and
we
a
saw
couple
a
a couple
lot.
of times. Well, sorry to interrupt you. A couple of times, I would let Jack Windsor do the knocking, and he would announce himself, and that's a little threatening. I think I'm here as an investigative journalist trying to find out if you're screwing the government. But when I'm knocking a couple of times, I'm like, hey, I'm here as a customer, and I'd like to come in and tour your facility about bringing my child here. business needs customers. I'm presenting myself as a customer, would still get cussed out. You're cussing a customer out? What's wrong with you?
Right.
That's just not
You
normal.
have a lot of people in the comments that say they want to join you. Where do I sign up? How can I help? Do you have anything if people want to help expose what is going on? Is there you have like a plan for anything like that?
I mean, I don't know how many times you can knock on the same doors with the same questions. I think, a lot of these videos have, I would say collectively, the videos have been posted as well as the full 58-minute video has got millions and millions of views. I mean, it's well up there. Of course, the one that you did got 1.5 million. What Nick Shirley's done. I mean, he has been on national news now for going on probably the fifth or sixth straight week, if not a little bit more. So I mean, the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. Yes, at this point, beating a dead horse. If you just need to keep harassing these people, they're not going to quit. It's going to have to be some form, function of government investigating them, because that's kind of how, to have a weird analogy here, that's kind of how the steroids in baseball got exposed. Was Jose wrote his book. The fans were up in arms. The media were up in arms about it. Congress got involved, and it became such a huge pressure cooker for Major League Baseball that they had to start, testing players for steroids. That's how steroids got eradicated from baseball. Same kind of thing. You've got all these, investigative journalists, and now it's become very exposed. Billions and billions of dollars these people are stealing from the government. Now it's up to the government to quiet the people by conducting an investigation and putting a stop to it. And if people need to go to jail, they need to go to jail. People need to be deported. They need to be deported. I think having to go back to Somalia probably worse than going to jail.
And you could argue that both sides, the steroids and the daycare, both knew what was going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew, and honestly, so some guys back in the day that I played with, you'd be like, really, that guy? Like, yeah, that guy. That was every bit of 60% of the league that was taken back then. What fascinates me most about this is of course the libs, the left. I don't know what I do. I mean, the foundation of liberalism is sympathy and pity, not common sense. I mean, this is common sense. People are stealing from taxpayers. Even you, lib, you're a taxpayer, and they're embezzling money from you too. But for the libs to get on the side of the Somalis and call this some kind of blatantly racially driven attempt. If they were white, nobody would care, and it's only because they are immigrants from Somalia and they have black skin. And I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? It just amazes me how libs, how they can spin this thing and somehow make these Somali thieves look like the victims. It just utterly amazes me.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like,
but it amazes me.
Outside of the language that you use, like the pushback that you're getting, the fundamental principle behind what you're doing is exposing fraud. So really, I mean, what the pushback that you're getting is what the language that you're using to, create, like you said, these entertaining videos. If you didn't like say the things that you did, what do they have to push back on other than you are exposing fraudulent business activity, right?
Well, they're pushing back on. I'm more talking about Nate Shirley. I mean, his stuff has gotten a lot more views than mine has. It's gotten generated up a lot more attention than mine has, and he's being called racist and xenophobe and everything else for just doing what what the definition of your job is as an investigative journalist is, to look into matters like this. And I think he did a damn good job of it. And yes, somehow out of all the facts he laid in front of you, you're a racist, Nick Shirley. What? What are you talking about? So I get where you busted my balls. I could care less. I just think it was funny, and really left it more up to Jack Windsor. You be the facts guy. I'm going to be the color commentary. Let's have a few laughs. Let's not be quite so serious today.
Right, because you understand how social media works and these videos and stuff. your buddy did it by himself, it wouldn't nearly get the amount of traction because of who you are, obviously, right? And the other things that you're adding to these videos.
Which is why he invited me to come up there. I'm like, all right, I'll do that for
Right.
you.
Yeah. I mean, you'll do it. Yeah, you do it for free, right? That's why I said in the video, I was like, this is a job like you were born to do this, right?
I gotta go to Columbus, Ohio for a day, huh? Huh?
Right.
Like, you sure this like Palm Springs? They're the same shit in Palm Springs. We go there instead.
Yeah. What do you have anything planned next? Is there any next exposing anything next? Any next moves that we could?
That's
No.
unless Jack's got it. All right, here's the latest. Maybe something like that. But again, the Somali stuff. I mean, it's been in the news cycle for, I mean, like I said, almost 2 months now. This is not a new story. So any I think further attempts at just beating this horse, I think, like, yeah, we get it. Okay, yeah, we got the memo the first time. You don't have to keep resending it.
Um, yes or not yesterday, over the last couple days, Epstein list came out. Do you have any thoughts on that redacted information? Do you think it's a I mean, I'll tell you what I think things get leaked on purpose. I think the redacted stuff is, obviously very intentional, and also misdirection for other things that are going on in our country, in our world as well. How do we hold these people accountable? Can we? Is there anything we can do, or do we just sit there and take it? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. You could touch on it if you want. If not, we can move on.
The folks they're you'd obviously like to see in handcuffs the Bill Clintons, for the other side, the Donald Trumps. I know Trump was down there, doing nefarious things. Those kind of folks, with their level of power, their level of power they've had for decades and decades and decades, and the tentacles that power has, you're not going to get those folks. I know you'd love it, put Hillary Clinton in jail, put the new thing with Obama, and they're saying he was the mastermind behind the Russia hoax and all that. You're not going to get these folks. You just not. That's where the redactions are coming from. Those folks have got folks who've got folks that can, yep, it's taken care of, boss. So us, little people out here that, we don't know what we don't know what we don't know. We can go on shows like this all day long and talk about it. Now I guarantee you that you don't know shit. Now you're probably, you might be right, but nothing is going to come of it. So we it's a story. It's juicy. There's all kinds of possibilities there. But the only person going to jail for this stuff is Jeffrey Epstein and Giselle Max Lane, or what the hell her name was. So I don't see, what they finally was it 3 million pages or something. But all the redactions, yes. that was the juicy stuff. That was the stuff that folks are going to come crashing down over.
Mm-hmm. You think any of that stuff is misdirection, or you know what I'm saying, a distraction from other things that are going on? Because obviously everybody's talking about. I mean, I can't scroll on my phone without seeing that stuff, and I don't even follow a lot of that stuff, but it keeps getting shoved down my throat.
It could be. It could be a bait and switch. Could be a banana tailpipe trick. I had some interest to it years ago before Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, or was murdered. But after excuse me, these last year of it, and Trump saying, when I get elected, I'm gonna. Yeah, okay, yeah, I hear you saying, and you've done what you said you were going to do, but if there was nothing incriminating to very important, very powerful people, then why did you redact so much? Again, that's the stuff that would have, people would have got over, and that's never going to happen. So just let's move along. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. On Sunday is the Super Bowl. I mean, if you want to talk about it, it seems like the NFL is pandering to a international audience. They have
that don't like football.
Performer who majority of his songs aren't in English. He was talking about possibly wearing a dress. You have Green Day, who's very anti-Trump, very anti the current administration. and it just seems like they're pandering to an audience that doesn't buy, support, or watch the NFL. Why do you think that is? Why are they pushing that so hard
I have
to an
no
audience? Like
idea.
I
I
said,
have no idea. You thought they would have learned their lesson with Colin Kaepernick. You thought they would have learned their lesson with what happened to Bud Light. And you see Bud Light, a major pendulum swing going 180 the other way with Peyton Manning and the comic name slips me. Is their spokespeople now. You think the NFL would kind of, well, we're not going to try that shit again, but yet here they are. And the funny thing is, I play in a golf every year for Jim Kelly up in Buffalo, and Roger Goodell is there every year. Seems like a nice enough guy. Doesn't seem like some crazy kook. He's got a business to run, and for the overwhelming majority of that business customers, were folks like me and you, just regular old working folks that like their sports. They're not dudes in dresses that, I can't miss the game today. Woo, me and Bobby will go down there and make sure we watch it. That's not your fan. I don't know why, like, you're hell bent, to try to reach a demographic of people that don't already watch you. And it's a very small demographic. You're talking, single digit percentile points of the American population. Just give your fans what they want. That's not what they want. What are you thinking? I don't understand it.
yeah, that's part of what I'm questioning too is why you might get them to watch for 15 minutes on Sunday, but they're not buying your jerseys, they're not buying the NFL package, they're not tuning in weekly.
They're
Those are
raising
just
a major hit over the Colin Kaepernick stuff. It took a major hit
mhm. I think this is going to be the lowest viewed Super Bowl of all time, or at least in the last 20 years. I think you have two teams that a lot of people don't care about, and then especially how polarizing opposite sides for the halftime show. I really don't think that it's going to be a highly viewed Super Bowl. And as a football fan, as a guy who watches every Sunday, I don't care if I'm not watching every single play. I'm actually going to go to a Super Bowl party, John. Like usually I want to watch a Super Bowl at my house where I can everyone shut up. I'm watching the game. I can, I don't have to hear about, this commercial, whatever. I'm going to a Super Bowl party now where there's going to be a bunch of people who don't watch a game. That's how little I care about it.
Yeah.
Obviously the teams in it play a big part of that, but
yeah, Turning Point USA is going to have their own halftime show.
Did
you hear about that? Yeah.
I did.
Travis putting on.
I heard Kid Rock was going to do the halftime show.
Okay, I haven't heard the entertainer announcement. I just knew they were going to be doing their own separate halftime show. I wouldn't be surprised if Bob did the show.
Are you have a relationship with him?
I've known Bob. Actually, one of the coolest things I've ever done. Back then, I used to hang out with Scott Stapp. Remember the band Creed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hang out with Scott a lot, and because he had a house in Isleworth, Orlando, and so I would hang out with him, a lot during spring training every year when we moved to Orlando. And so I think Bob had "Cowboy" was the only song he had out. It was back probably like in 2000, and so it was Bob and David Allen Coe was opening for him at the Orlando Arena. And so me and Scott and I think Steve Avery and Klesko and a few other guys go to the show, end up going backstage, hanging out with actually Edwin McCain was with us too. Eddie was with us, and go backstage after the show, and we all ended up going back to Scott's house in Isleworth, and Scott had his lead guitarist, Bob's lead guitarist, Eddie McCain, and then me and Javi and Ryan and a few other folks. They all plugged up in Scott's den and just jammed till like 3 a.m. It's cool as shit. Edwin McCain, Bob, and Scott. And, at the time, Bob only had one song out. He'd been relevant for like a year, maybe. And I'm sitting there listening to him cover AC/DC, to cover Hank Jr., to cover Skinner, and I'm like, this guy's better than all you motherfuckers. I don't know what this is. And Edwin McCain had, probably 2 or 3 top 20 songs at the time. Creed was the biggest band in the world at the time. And I'm just listening to Bob play. I'm like, man, he better than all you dudes. You better watch your ass. This guy's gonna be around a while. Yes, I've known Bob since then. I see him maybe once every 5 years. I'll go to a show or be at some event that he's at. But he would. And he's one guy that he's conservative as hell, Trump supporter, etc. And just for whatever reason, it's just like certain people out there that the left just leaves them alone. The leftist doesn't go
Hmm.
after him, like whether it's him or a Clint Eastwood or an Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, all right, you get a pass. They
Sure.
won't go after him, but he seems to be
Yeah,
one of
that's
those.
when like Ball with the Ball came out,
Hmm.
Cowboy, that whole album.
Yeah,
And I think that stuff is cool now, John, because that's a story that you could tell that there's no evidence of that because social media wasn't around. There was no cameras in everybody's pockets that can kind of, take pictures or whatever. So I I, I just think that's a cool I don't know, anecdote of like how things used to be. Like, if you saw now John Rocker, Kid Rock, Edwin McCain in a living room listening to music, I think that would be hilarious, Like you would have never seen that back then because of how social media has grown and stuff like now.
we're all young back then. I was probably 25. Bob's a little older. I think Bob, he might be pushing 60.
Hmm.
Yeah, Eddie was probably about 25, 26. Oh, how good it was to be young. Oh, well.
Yeah. I was watching the Vice documentary that they did on you, John,
Hmm.
and I think people can easily paint you a certain kind of way without um, unfairly, without knowing some of the things that you have done or that you do. Specifically, what I'm talking about is same homelessness veterans.
Save homeless veterans, yeah.
Same homeless veterans. I'm sorry. The transition house. I saw all that stuff, and that is, I think, some of the most important things. People can talk about you a certain way and have given zero amount of their time or money to efforts like that, and they will cast your name or talk disparagingly about you, and yet they've done nothing to that extent. So just wanted to also paint the picture of things that you have done or things that you are doing and how important that was to you. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I don't know if that's still something that's going on, but it was again in the Vice documentary that I saw on you. So
Yeah, that Vice doc was probably 17, maybe, something like that. So it's been a good 7, 8 years. Yeah, I had a 501c3 called Save Homeless Veterans. We started that in, God, 2011, probably through 2016. And the reason it didn't go further than that was just we just couldn't raise enough money. We got decent size. I think we would lease houses, would lease homes. I always wanted to either build my own place or like buy a small boutique hotel or something. We just never got that big. But yeah, we had a great affiliation with Georgia Tech, great affiliation with Ronald Street Baptist Church. For their they ran a faith based, which is similar to AA, a faith based 12-step program. To try to get our guys cleaned up. We had a what would they call it, like career enhancement, kind of program through Georgia Tech. They would like skills train our guys, and all this is of course free of charge to them. And the idea was these guys would come into houses we leased. They were nice houses. They were probably all $300,000 houses, mainly in the Dunwoody area of Atlanta, which is where I lived. And they had 90 days to live rent free. Their transportation's paid for. They didn't have transportation. Uh, we would even go to the grocery store for them.
mhm.
We all right, grocery store run, make your list, and we would probably not pay for all their food. We're going to probably pay for 70% of it. Of course, the utilities. And it was 90 days. You had to have a job, and you had to pay $500 a month. So I had to pay. Just to get people back used to paying their own way. Just that's uh, I think that is a big part of building self esteem. Is I'm paying my own way now. I'm not freeloading off the system anymore. One of the damnest things. This is another thing that just kind of discouragement that we just stop the process is probably about, I would say, 70% of our guys would stay about 85, 87 days. And you have to start paying $500 a month Monday. They leave on Friday. Where'd Tommy go? I don't know. I hadn't seen him 3 or 4 days, man. And they would take advantage of us for about 7 weeks.
Mhm.
And then, just a few days before it's time to start earning my keep, they'd beat feet. And thanks for all the free shit the last 2.5 months, and they'd take off, man. So
Right.
that got pretty discouraging, and and it was a never ending effort to raise money. I know you hear all the Tunnel for Towers commercials, and yeah, that's what it takes to raise enough money to fund an organization like that. And man, I did, I mentioned earlier about being on Hannity and all those shows. And the reason I was on those shows was to raise money for Save Homeless Veterans. And so we could track donations like in real time. And I would get off a Hannity show or I was on Geraldo as well. And I'd call up my finance director and be like, all right, how much we make on it? $36. I was on the Sean Hannity show. I probably just on 5 million people. $30, really? So it just got frustrating, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Michael Savage on a decent sized show, and radio, and the host himself is like, I love your format. As soon as we hang up, I'm going to make a donation. We hang up 10 minutes later, $0. So the host who said nothing, huh? He's like, nope. How about $20, you cheap fuck? Nothing.
Yeah.
It was discouraging, and I mean, running a 501c3, that's no joke. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. But yeah, we did. I'm saying I'm poo pooing it, but there was probably 3 dozen guys that significantly helped, got them back on their feet, reunited with their family, off the drugs and alcohol, got them jobs. So there was a good 35, 40 guys that we gave some significant help to, over that 4 or 5 year period of time.
Yeah.
So
anytime my father gives to homeless people or, charity or whatever, he would always tell us, we'd be like, oh, they're going to go buy drugs with it or whatever. And he says, that's my job is to give them that. It's up to them to want better for themselves or to take that money and do right with it. So that's always something that my dad instilled in me is like, hey, that's your part. I'm doing this to help you, and now it's your decision on what you want to do with that. So it's definitely understandable.
I got you.
John,
All right, man. What's that?
I was going to say, do you recognize this jersey?
No. Is that Venezuelan League?
It's season 2 of Eastbound and Down.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Kenny Power.
Mexican League.
I know you get a lot of that about having it loosely based off of you and stuff. So I just thought it was fitting that I would wear this jersey. I have no other time.
Danny McBride and I were born in the same hospital in Statesboro, Georgia, 2 years apart.
I have that in my notes as well. Yeah.
I found
same
out
hospital.
Like 5 years ago. I'm like, no fucking way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Statesboro, Georgia, too. Little tiny ass town in South Georgia.
One last question, and then tell me, I'll get you out of here. Is there a beef with you and Pat Mahomes Sr.? We saw that video of you guys on the street, just talking. I didn't have any context to it.
No.
No. Okay.
There's no.
Okay. Fair enough. John, you're on Rumble. You're coming out. Is that okay if I say that or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting a Rumble show called On the Rocks, February 17th, every Tuesday and Friday.
Beautiful. You guys can find John later this month, February 17th, on Rumble. John, thank you again for joining me. Stick around just because I want to make sure this uploads, and then I'll get you out of here, okay?
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next time.